What the city is talking about. This is Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. And Jim, as we say, those of us who have lived here our whole lives, a little dusting of snow over the past couple of days, a mere 75 centimeters. But hey, here we are.
Does this drive a stake through the heart of the 71 blizzard now? Is everyone going, I remember the 71 blizzard, it was terrible. And now we got like a million zillion centimeters of snow. It's crazy out there. I don't know if you've actually experienced. I had to go out, my thermal pump was making noises like a wounded bear. So I figured I'd better go out and check it, right? The thing is, the thermal pump was fine, but getting there was really half the fun, Aaron, because I have this little gully along the side of my house. I'm going through there. I swear to God, the snow was up to my armpits. It was like crazy. It was like I was in a bad movie, right? Some really bad Antarctica movie. But this is it. This is what it's like out there. And now, as I speak to you, I have the instructions for the finalizing of the construction of my roof snow rake, which everyone, I think, should pay attention to. We haven't heard about it yet, but pay attention to your roofs, especially if you're a homeowner.
Sure.
And especially if you live out in the West End, my friends. We all learned a lesson during the ice storm. But keep an eye on that stuff because there is a bootload of snow on top of your house.
By the way,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm happy to hear that what you thought was a wounded bear was, in fact, not a wounded bear.
No, but listen, stranger things have happened, right? And the other thing as well is like, it's so crazy because we have a lot of critters out in my neighborhood. You all see all these tracks and everything. There ain't nothing. Everyone's gone underground because this is for real stuff. But, you look at it, and it's so funny because on the one hand, here we are, we're talking about, you won't be getting any garbage collection or so on because we have to clear the streets. And our poor listeners out in the West End, I really hope you enjoy those joie de vivre because it's going to be an archaeological dig for you to get to your car. And it's good to see neighbors helping neighbors and so on and so forth. But man, oh man, you talk about a city that was founded, Montreal is a quintessential Nordic city, and the way it's just put together is so user-unfriendly for winters, it's not even funny. So when you've got all these cars parked in the streets, and God knows how long it's going to take to dig them out, and once you dig them out, where the hell are you going to put them? It's this great, big, fat, recurring nightmare. So whether it's in terms of planning the snow removal, and Philippe Sabourin, God love him, he comes on and he always makes it sound like, there's always a silver lining there, but holy moly, 8 days?
Yeah.
8 days, Aaron? I mean, what does that entail? Does that entail like 8 days of moving your car, 8 days of hearing the sirens, 8 days of hoping they'll get around to your neighborhood? I think you'll be talking about that a lot between now and the next 8 days.
The interesting part, and you just mentioned, Jim, is imagine, you're shoveling out, forget about if you try cleaning up after Thursday's snowfall, only to have this happen, but you start to clean out your car, dig out your car now.
Yep.
And then the plow comes back, you're back to square one. That's always the issue, right? But there is so much snow. And the thing that surprised me was he said they can't even clean the sidewalks because the sidewalk plows can't get by. There's just too much snow.
The thing is, this is it. The sidewalk plow, the little mini bulldozers that we all love to watch at work, they would literally fit inside these snowbanks. I mean, if you haven't been out, folks, take my word for it. These snowbanks are the same size as the Great Blizzard of 71, but here's the difference. You're fully grown now. Back in 71, you were a little person. You're looking up at these, oh man, these are huge. Yeah. But now you're looking up at the same size now. This is serious stuff, more than 70 centimeters over 4 days. And I was just talking to Dean, with the wind, Aaron, it's great. Oh yeah, we're going to be plowing this year. The wind it could change everything overnight.
Sure, it comes right back
tomorrow, and it comes right back. It doesn't have a single flake doesn't have to fall. It'll be just moving around. So it's going to be a very, very interesting 8 days here in Montreal, loaded with what we like to call joie de vivre. But all that said, what are you going to do? You've got to work around it. And the fact is, if there's one thing more than Valerie Plante, more than 100 Valerie Plante, a Montreal winter is what teaches you that the last thing on earth you really need is a car.
Yeah, okay. At least for the winter anyway. I'll go along with that. But, that's kind of the joy. Half the fun was shoveling out that car. Half the fun is shoveling out that car. I mean, not the way it's buried right now, but I remember that was actually kind of fun. It was a group effort.
Really?
But that was then. Yeah.
You got one twisted sense of fun, my friend.
We were young. We were younger, Jim. It didn't matter. This is kind of invigorating.
True,
it's invigorating to be out there.
Yeah, the shovels were made out of steel back then, eh?
Yeah, real shovels. Remember those?
Yeah.
You could hurt yourself. Let me talk about what's going on. Mark Carney, I don't know if you heard this on the news or if you read this. I think Jason just mentioned it. Mark Carney has raised a pile of money, and I know everyone else is not disclosing, but I know we've talked about this before as well. This is basically over before it begins. Is it still fair to say?
Oh, I hate to say stuff like that because then God hears us and he goes, no, I don't think so. The debates haven't happened. The campaign per se has not happened. This has been a very in-house, inside baseball kind of game with people like you and me talking about it, observers talking about it, liberal insiders, even Tory insiders talking about it. But nothing's really happened yet. We still have yet to have everyone on the same public footing. Of course, Mark Carney is the apparent dauphin. Mark Carney is the anointed one. And I got to tell you, my hat's off to his campaign because they have gone after. It's like scorched earth with Pierre Poilievre, right? I mean, it's just been the liberal attack ads. First of all, where they know Trump is their biggest asset, and poor Pierre Poilievre has very obligingly provided them with 5 or 6 quotes where he's absolutely aping Donald Trump on a number of subjects. But on the other hand, here's Mark Carney, sort of shrugging and saying, yeah, it is true that, back in the day, Stephen Harper, the beloved, the revered, the godlike Stephen Harper, did ask me to be his finance minister. I mean, that had been kicking around online, but it hadn't really been sort of like confirmed, really confirmed. So here he goes, dropping this on Monday, on a day when, listen, everyone's talking about the weather or the leadership race, because except for Montreal, the rest of the country's got the day off. So here's this idea. How do you go after a guy like that? Is he going to be able to debate a Mark Carney candidacy in a federal election? And let's face it, the one thing I will say is the lead pipe cinch right now is, we're going to have a spring election. There's absolutely no matter who wins, they've got to go to the polls right away, which is going to be like nuts on top of everything else. But listen, we've never seen this where we've gone from all kinds of issues, the economy, the housing market, whether people believe they have a future in this country, to maintaining our identity. It's like Donald Trump. Who knew? I had no idea. And anybody who says they weren't surprised, I think, is lying, Aaron. But the bottom line here is Donald Trump single-handedly changed the entire play, the entire tone of this leadership campaign, and I'm sure of the election campaign. And it's going to be fascinating to see by the time that the dust settles, where we're going to be. Although the one thing I don't think is going to happen, I heard you talking to your guest in the last half hour, where he's suggesting, well, Donald Trump doesn't have the wherewithal to mobilize 2 million troops to come and annex Canada. Don't forget, as Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Armed Forces, Donald Trump very loudly noted that at Arlington, sacred ground, where men and women who die for the U.S. Are buried, he referred to those people as suckers and losers. Yeah. So I'm not entirely sure you're going to have a kind of a George S. Patton kind of attitude with the U.S. Armed Forces coming into Canada.
Jim, I want to just very quickly, and I want to move on to something else. We started by talking about Mark Carney. What did you think of what you saw this weekend? Pierre Poilievre rallying the troops, the big rally there, bussing in people, finding an option for the Axe the Tax slogan. Did it resonate?
I don't think so. I think first of all, people were noticing that it really had a kind of a Hail Mary kind of allure to it. That all of a sudden we've got to switch gears. All of a sudden I have to change the script. All of a sudden, it's like the star has died. We're bringing in the understudy. We've got to bring in Pierre Poilievre, 2.0, who's kinder and gentler, and it's going to be Canada first. But like I say, the Liberals have pounced upon this, and they launched their attack ads this past weekend. They knew he was having that rally, and the internet is flooded with these attack ads. So listen, the polls, we're looking at the polls, the gap is narrowing. Is it exclusively to Mark Carney? Is he inevitable? I'm not entirely sure about that, but one thing's for sure. I think Pierre Poilievre is going to have a few more tricks up his sleeve than he did this past weekend if he expects to pull this out of the fire.
Last thing, the question we start, I just want to get a quick take on you from this. There's an article, or you may have heard the ad from the union representing federal workers who say, you know what, we're better off still working from home. They don't want to be forced to go back to work. There's arguments on both sides. What do you think? Back to work or keep it the way it is with remote work?
I think if there's no reason for you to come into the office, I think you should be working from your house. It's as simple as that. This is a lesson we learned 5 years ago. I think a lot of people want to unlearn it, and a lot of people are turning around saying, "My God, if I'd known I could have gotten away with this 10 years ago, I'd have done it back then."
All right.
And I don't think it means people are lazy or they're skiving off or whatever. They're taking advantage. I think a lot of people out there are enjoying their jobs more, and guess what? Discovering they have a family and a personal life and still balancing work and life. And I'm sorry, that is not too much for anyone to ask in this day and age.
James Mennie at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
As a man.